uh, about the innovations I have done in various fields, just to impress upon the budding engineers that branch of engineering is no barrier to your career. I am playing in almost 9 branches of engineering. Basically, I am a civil engineer, graduate, then postgraduate in the structural engineering. By employment, I am an aerospace engineer in VSSC. I am very proud to tell you I was a colleague of Dr. Abdul Kalam for SLBC project. And, for my living, for my bread and butter, I am an architectural engineer, having done many billions of rupees of projects, mostly World Bank projects. Then I am a computer and software engineer, having developed many softwares, and the latest being in astrology. Then I'm an electrical and mechanical engineer by way of research and experiments, having done this domestic windmill to generate electricity for my own house and office, which is almost a world record that it starts generating electricity at the lowest ever RPM and lowest ever wind velocity. Then I am also an automobile engineer to run a vehicle with wind energy. I am an agriculture engineer to develop agriculture equipments as well as growing wheat, getting the highest yield of wheat in India just by experiments without spending even a single paisa extra, either on fertilizer or pesticides or anything. Then at present I am a pharmaceutical engineer doing experiments on, I am blessed with Lord Shiva. I have got 5 Rudraksha trees in my kitchen garden at Nashik, and with the scalp and leaves and flowers of Rudraksha, that is the best medicine for diabetes, and I am doing experiments on that with the Ayurveda college here on various patients. And my current job in the sense, my current hobby is giving lectures on theory of karma. That is, you are the author of your own destiny. That's a wonderful presentation. It is basically drawn from Bhagavad Gita. Now coming back to this thing, I had told you all this not because I'm somebody else or somebody great or something. It's not that. But the basic concept which was given to me is we have to talk about innovations. So whatever small work I have done in my life, I just told you about that. Now coming to this development of a windmill, it is like this. I'm an illiterate person in electrical engineering, but did a wonderful work in alternators. It so happened that in the year 1991-92, I was heading a very big office. I was the owner of that office, and I had billions of rupees of projects. And that time, in the year 1992, I had 9 computers and the latest in the world gadgets in my office. And there was, if there is a power shortage or a power cut, even for just a half an hour, my boys used to enjoy that half an hour without doing any work, but which I could absolutely not afford to do that. So I went for a generator, which was run on kerosene and starting on petrol, and starting with the thread, pulling of thread and all that. And I got it. I ran it for hardly 5 days and I got rid of that after 5 days because of its pollution, its vibrations, its noise, and more importantly, even for a 15 watt of bulb, the generator had to run with a full capacity and a full fuel consumption. So I said it's not useful to me. Then I got a very, very efficient battery backup system, battery inverter. Till the year 2000, I was a very, very happy person. I never even noticed whether this bulb is on MACB or whether it is on battery. But in the year 2000, with the courtesy of our very efficient MACB electrical engineers and at the courtesy of Enron, that time Enron was to come. So in Nashik, for 2 full days, there was no electricity, and other days, there was electricity for hardly 5 to 6 hours. And even though I had a very, very efficient battery backup system, the batteries could not get fully charged. And the same problem which I faced in 1991-92 arose, and then I started thinking that I must do something different to charge my batteries. I need alternative charging media for the batteries, and that is only not by the conventional way, but the non-conventional way, either solar or wind or biogas or something like that. I made a little comparative study about the costing and the working of solar and wind, and then I found that wind is much reasonable, affordable, and workable as far as I am concerned, because my project, the name of my project was also very interesting, Goodbye MSCB. I wanted to say goodbye to MSCB. And everything was done at my own cost, from my own pocket. So I had to be very, very conservative. I had to be very miser also sometimes. So I started that I must generate electricity on my own for my office. I contacted several people in the field, and fortunately, I can say today, fortunately, that nobody came to my help, and I could find that when nobody came to my help is because they were the elephants and my requirement was just a mosquito type of thing. So they were generating in megawatts, and my requirement was hardly 2.5 to 3 kilowatts. So that was the thing. So nobody came to my help. And India has got a tradition that when we were not given supercomputers, we developed our own supercomputers. Inaugural session, Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, my very good friend. So he headed the team to make the supercomputers. When we were denied cryogenic engines, we developed cryogenic engine, and last month only we had a very, very successful textbook flight of GSLV D5. So that's how our Indian brain always thinks like that. We never wait for somebody to help us. If he doesn't help us, if nobody supports us, we start doing something on our own. And same way, I thought I must do something on my own when nobody is coming to my help. So I started with just a Maruti car alternator. I got it from Bhangar market, working condition of course. And then I cut a PVC pipe into 3 pieces and made a blade of that. And with that car alternator, I erected it on a pole, and it was rotating very fast, so fast that you can't see the individual blade, but just a circle. But at the current side, nothing was coming. Then I said, something has gone wrong. Why it is not done? Then somebody suggested I should go for a gearbox and all that. I introduced a gearbox to that, but introduction of anything costs you, plus maintenance, plus losses. So that was not a very successful idea. Then I went for some other alternator which would be at lower RPM. Before that, when I went to that Maruti car showroom, got a pamphlet, and then I could understand that that alternator starts generating electricity at 3000 RPM. But it was not difficult for that because the car engine runs at about 4000, 4500 RPM. So with that pulley, the shaft of the alternator is rotated. So that is okay with the vehicle, but not with the, for a windmill on a pole. Then I went for another alternator with that Toyota alternator, which was at about 2200 RPM. Same thing, nothing happened. Then again, every time I used to think that something is wrong with me, not with the alternator or with the windmill. So I used to ask people, and fortunately, all the people started discouraging me because they thought that why the hell I should poke my dirty nose into their field, but doesn't matter. Then I made like that. But I was also busy with my office work. No, मेरा पेट पानी तो चलता रहना चाहिए ना. Then, but that nasha is there. No, once you get into something, then you have to get the results under any circumstances, anyhow. But if you really want to do, this is my own example, if you really want to do something from your bottom of your heart, then God always comes to your help. And God really came to my help. How? He made me seriously ill. And I had a very major surgery for a suspected cancer. And then for about 8 to 9 months, I was bedridden. And during that convalescence period of 8 to 9 months, I started doing research in electrical engineering. with the basics of electrical engineering. That is how I can bring down the RPM so that it comes down to wind velocity also. And friends, with all my struggle, doing work, studying this, that, all that, finally, starting with 3000 RPM, finally, I designed and developed an alternator which would generate, rather which generates electricity at as low as 4 RPM. Just 4 RPM. And with a wind velocity of 0.6 meter per second. See, when we talk of wind, definitely we remember God Pavan. So we take blessings from Pavan Putra Hanuman to start our presentation. This is the windmill. Windmill consists of 3 parts: blades, which are the driving force. The shaft is connected to the alternator. Alternator is a stator and rotor. And third is the tailwind. The tailwind is very much required because the wind direction is not same throughout the day, or throughout the week, or throughout the month, or throughout a year. So it's always fluctuating and different. So to get the maximum efficiency of our windmill, we need that the blades of the windmill should be always in front of the wind. So that's how the tailwind brings the blades always in front of the windmill in the wind direction. And the whole thing is supported on a bearing system at the top of the tower. So the whole windmill rotates in 360 degrees like that, so that the blades are always in front of the wind direction. Then, to start with, I had to make the blades. So I started with the wooden blades. So I got the planks and then started doing this. I went to the carpenter. Then I told him I want it this way, this way. He said, "हमको खेलने के लिए time नहीं है." Then I became myself a carpenter and I did it at my home. So that's how these are the blades. Then it so happened that I erected it, and in the summer, because we never get 100% dry wood, so it started cracking, and because of cracks, the balance of the dynamic balance gone. So I repaired it with GI strips. So all that. But again, that dynamic balance was there. And then somebody suggested, why don't you go for FRP blades? So I could get it in Ambad here. And I got the FRP blades, erected the windmill, and getting electricity out of that. Then these are different types of blades. This is the assembly for blades. This is the tailwind. This is the outer ring, coils. Pasted the coils, because there was also a resistance that we should have coils rotating and the magnets fixed. I said, why? No, it is a convention. I said, why? But because when you have coils rotating, the output wires also rotate, and then you have to add this slip ring thing. Slip ring and the carbon brushes and all that. I said, nothing doing. I will have magnets rotating and the coils fixed. And that's how all that. Then I got this lamination or a stamping or electrical steel to increase the efficiency of the electricity generated. So the diameter was rather large, so I could not get a die of a full circle. So because everything was going from my pocket, so I made just one piece for one coil and made a circle of all these pieces like this. Then erected it on that. Erection was also required to be done by expert people. So, and those expert people are from industry. And here Saturday is a holiday. So it could be done only on Saturdays. So if this Saturday it is not done, then next Saturday. If not, then again next Saturday. And that time in the year 2001, 2002, it was costing me almost 4,000 rupees just to erect it. I see whether it works or not. It doesn't work, again take it down. Again spend 4,000 rupees to take it down, again make a post-mortem of that and see what had gone wrong, and then do the modifications. This is the tower, because the windmill is supposed to be erected at about 50 feet above the ground level. Fortunately, I have a double-storied house and a water tank tower. So 35 feet I got natural. A 15 feet tower was erected. Then it so happened that taking that alternator, which was rather bulky and heavy, taking it right up to the top of tower and then again bringing down and again erecting, it was a very cumbersome. That is also a very costly thing. So when I was in the workshop, I saw that grinder was being operated, and that shaft was a flexible shaft. You just spin it here and then you can take it anywhere. Then I said, the rotations are transferred, no? Through a flexible shaft. Then I got a click. I must do something on that. Then I again went to that Bangarwala and asked for him. Then he suggested, let me also tell you, I got all the discouragement from electrical engineers particularly. But that Bangarwala, who is an illiterate person, Mansur Bhai, illiterate person. When that time I had a CLO car and I went to his shop, parked it and went to his shop, and then he asked, "Kya chahiye?" Because he thought that I want some spare part for my car. Then I was searching this, that, bearing, that. I didn't know what it is, all that. Then he asked me, then he sold me one piece, which was not useful to me. I went to return it. Then he asked, what are you doing? I said, I am doing something, some experiments like that. Then that Mansur Bhai said, he is really my guru, I salute him. He said, Sahab, aap kuch ijaz kar rahe hain. In his terms, it was some invention. It is not invention, it is some development. He said, you are doing some development, my whole shop is open for you. You take whatever you want from my shop, use it. If you want to pay, you pay it. If it is not useful to you, just bring it back to me. No problem. So that illiterate person helped me and not the others. So this with this flexible shaft, then he suggested me, why not you use this differential? This is a car differential, or a jeep differential. These are the two wheels, rear wheels, and that bevel gear at the center, and the propellant shaft is connected to the engine. So the engine revolutions are transferred to that, and at 90 degrees they are transferred to the wheels. So I took this differential again in Bangar market, and then this is the bevel gear, this one. Then I erected it at the top of the tower. Then blades on one side, tailwheel on other side, and through that bevel gear, transfer the rotations to the alternator, which was at the bottom of my tower. So if anything is wrong, I could access it, I could do all that. So I need not take it all the time and spend all that money. So that was the whole thing. Now, the problems faced in the this project, industry, because our industry, when I go there and ask them to do it, they first ask me, what is the tolerance? And I said, no, I want in the millimeters and all that. They say, "Saab, itna khelne ko time nahi." This is a very patent word, huh? Khelne ko time nahi. And the second question, they would ask, how many pieces you want? I said, no, I want only one piece because I am doing some development. Then you come, you come after 10 days, you come after 8 days, and all that. Then the people also, that is, I had a little problem because I had made those slots, in the stamping and putting coils into it. Then as per theory, I had some 12 turns, but there was some space remaining. So I could insert some more coils or some more turns, increase the turns. So I didn't know whether by increasing the number of turns, whether I would get more electricity or less electricity or nothing will happen. What would happen? Then I went to head of the electrical engineering department of a very renowned college. And our professor, I asked him this question, and he said it like this: Oh, there are 101 parameters to be considered. How can I tell you offhand? I said, okay. Then I went to electrical consultant. You know the definition of a consultant? Who is the best consultant? The best consultant is who confuses is most. So without answering my question, he confused me. Then I went to a third person from industry, who happened to be my batchmate. I was in civil and he was in electrical. And he is manufacturing electric motors. So I went to him to ask what would happen. Then he called me and said, Avinash, oh, so nice to see you after 1970 and all that and all that. He got a cup of tea and all that. And then I told him, no, I have come for this one. Then he said, see, Avinash, we have a routine work. We don't do any innovations or we don't do anything away from routine work. But he suggested, he was very generous and kind to suggest me, you do one thing. With 12 tons, you take results. Then you increase the number of tons. Then take results. Then reduce the number of tons. Take results. You will yourself know. Don't forget to tell me your results. Yes, the attitude, electricity saved is electricity generated. Attitude of consumers, that attitude of ABCB, let us forget about that. Now, all this development, I made about total 14 different alternators at my own cost. Then I came to understand that all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. पागल है. ऐसा कभी होता है क्या? Then it is violently opposed. किसने बोला तुमको ये ऐसा करने को? बहुत पैसा हो गया क्या? काम धंधा नहीं है क्या? Even my wife used to resist me because that time the power situation had improved a lot. So she said, why the hell you are doing it? But oh, nasha hota hai. Till you get results, you can't sleep. You must get results. And for every development, you need 2 things. One is patience and second is consistency. Unless you are patient and unless you have consistency, you can't achieve anything. If you remember the example of Edison, he gives credit of his success to his 999 failures. So unless you fail, you don't improve. But it is not necessary to fail. If you get results at the first, you are very lucky. So, second, it is very violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as self-evident. इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है? ये तो होना ही था. Like that. This is our ISRO principle: to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. This is about the technology. Let us not go into it. I got a patent for that development. Because one of my friends, he suggested, when I was doing all that, he suggested, hey, you just apply for patent. So I just applied it and I forgot it. And one fine morning, I got a letter from IPR office, patent office, that the patent is granted for 20 years for this innovation. There are several applications. You just think of it, and there is an application of low RPM alternator. How is this windmill different from readily available windmills? Yeah, definitely people will ask me, no? Normally, all the windmills which are available in India or maybe in the world, they start generating electricity at 3 meters per second. That's a power curve, no? At 3 meters it starts, that is called as a cut-in speed. So it starts generating at 3 meters per second, and my windmill starts generating at 0.6 meters per second. That means what others don't get between the range of 0.6 to 3, I get electricity in that range. And particularly in India, except the pockets, specific pockets, wind speed is very, very low. The average wind speed of Nashik is hardly 4 meters per second. So others don't get anything. I get a lot because it starts generating at a very low RPM. Then, after getting success in that, I started doing experiments on a car. So I put it like this, of course it didn't work. Then I put it like this, of course it didn't work. I put it like this, but there was a great resistance to this project from learned people. They said it can't be done because output can never be more than input. Otherwise, Einstein would have made an ideal machine or a perpetual machine or a virtual machine, whatever it is like that. I said, yes, I know it. I'm an engineer. But finally, I could find a location to keep the blades so that it gives the minimum resistance. Because, see, we had only Ambassador and Premier Padmini. And we didn't get much of a average. But after the introduction of Maruti car, we got a lot of, it was giving some 18 kilometers per liter and all that. How that change happened? Because of the aerodynamic shape of a vehicle. The least resistance to the cutting wheel. Like that. So I could find a place for that with the least resistance and kept. Because my arguments were like this, I have come to Sandip Foundation for this presentation. So my main work is to come here and give you a presentation. But after having come here, I met the principal also. I met the other people also, which was not in my list, but that was my additional advantage. Similarly, while running a vehicle, if I generate electricity, then maybe I'm getting, without this, I'm getting 20 kilometers. With this, I may get 19 kilometers. But additionally, I get electricity also. Like that. Then I started doing on the motor. Then a flywheel, in that Raswanti, Gumbru wala Raswanti, that flywheel. Then one day, I was very disappointed with that workshop thing, rather depressed. And then he could not give me that ring. So I went to the cycle shop, got the cycle wheel, and put my these magnets at the bottom of that, and the coils like that, and also made an alternator with that. Then I made a gymnasium bicycle. Just this, at the shaft, put the pedals, this one. So you also burn some fats and generate electricity. Then my current project is with this. I had seen Sholay several times. I really like that film. But I never gave attention to it, the Gabbar Singh. One day I was just cooking it and Gabbar Singh with that belt, Then I got a click. Yeah, I must do something with this. And now my current project is this one, which will really make a revolution in electrical engineering. I hope it will succeed. No, I am very confident that it will succeed. Yeah, this is the most important thing in our life. Never ever give up. Till the last moment. Never lose hope. And of course, with all this, ये तो होना ही था. So, definitely, I got lot many awards, lot many felicitations. This was by the government of Maharashtra, MEDA. Then this is the patent. Then I was interviewed on from A to Z TV channels, E TV, G TV, C TV, all sorts of. This is that Samvad, this Doordarshan. Then this was a very happy moment for me when I was felicitated at Delhi. It was on the platform of National Convention of Electrical Engineers. Till then, they had never felicitated non-electrical engineer. Oscar Fernandez, a central minister. Then this is at Goa, this is at Pune, this is at all these. This is very important. लहरों से डरकर नौका पार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. We started with Pawan Putra, his blessings, so let us also acknowledge him. You could see it rotating, no? Otherwise you would see it is just academic. Okay. So, thank you very much.
Nice. 1, 2, 3. Nice.
So I just guessed that why Sholay is again coming back on in 3D, because I just checking the Arvina sir his look like to be a 3D of Jay or Viru. So I think it is a great integration that one side a person from Nasik still have that courage to do some innovation, and I think this inspiration that I think all of you will like to take at home and really like to search something that you'll also come back like sir has done in the entire of his experience. A new man, he's not from Nasik, he's from Pune, and Nasik and Pune, we always share an enemy war. That we always, but we like Puneri Pata, right? So I think we would also like to love to listen from Arvind sir. Arvind Chintore sir is currently Assistant Vice President at Reliance Industry. The team lead at Honeywell Technology Solution. He has done his education in Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. He has done his PhD in physics and having 18-year experience in R&D, intellectual property, innovation and strategy. And I think the entire team of KUMBHTHON, as I have been observed, such a cool man, right? Arvind sir is such a cool man. He's listening to everyone. Some of the mentors, sometimes they ask, some of the instructor, whenever you call them, most of the time, halfway they actually said that I'll come back. But he is the man, he's listening everyone so calmly and quietly. So I guess he would just like to encourage you something related to the entrepreneurship. So I'll call sir just to have the interactive session.
To give you an idea, so I started my career from the academics. I did my PhD in physics and extreme low temperature. I went to Netherlands to do my postdoctoral work. Then I did industrial R&D. After academics, I went to industrial R&D. I got into intellectual property, startup. I actually started a company, part of a startup in the basement. And then I worked in a corporate, how technology and IP is managed. Then now I'm doing innovation strategy policy. I have been associated with several institutions and companies and countries around the world. So I need to give my gratitudes. I work with Dr. Mashalkar. In fact, he's in the news for the last 2 days. He received Padma Vibhushan, which is one of the highest awards. So Padma Bhushan comes after Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan, and after that is Bharat Ratna. So I have been very fortunate to work with Dr. Raghunath Mashirkar. He's a great thought leader. He works with 70 organizations. I have been very privileged to work with Professor C.K. Pralad. I think till he was alive, I was working with him. One of the great management gurus, one of the greatest thinkers the world has ever produced. Then I also work with Dr. Gururaj Deshpande. I was talking about it. He's a serial entrepreneur associated with MIT. He has a Deshpande Center in MIT. Also, he has a Deshpande Center for Social Entrepreneurship in Hubli, doing amazing work. So I'm associated with him for his foundation. I work on a development side of it. So let me tell you about India. These are the innovations, these are the phrases, or these are the new words that we find today in the dictionary. They did not exist a few years back. we did not know in the dictionary that there is a word which is called jugaad. Of course, jugaad used to be there in during our conversation in India, but jugaad, and now people are writing books around jugaad. Then we have frugal. In fact, MIT has a frugal engineering center, or Tata Frugal Engineering Center, frugal. Again, there are few books around frugal innovation and frugal engineering. Then we have nanovation. Nanovation is, actually there's a book which is based on what we can learn from nano car. There is authors from US, they came and studied how nano was developed, and that became a new word was coined, and that is nanovation. Then we have Gandhian engineering. I will not tell you again Gandhian engineering, but this is another word which is floating around and it's a part of our dictionary now. Then we have innovation. In fact, there are innovators here. There is an innovation group here in Nashik, and Sunil is a part of it. Then we are talking about east to west. This is another phrase that is being used. And then, similar to east to west, before reverse innovation came into the existence, east to west was a kind of a buzzword in many of the companies within India. So then there is to be east to east. That is the technology and solutions that we develop for east, and innovation from east to the west. And then Professor Govindarajan made reverse innovation, a new book and new philosophy, how Indian companies and multinational companies are innovating, which might be useful in the Western world. But I think one of the phrases that is being regularly used and which depicts basically all these phrases, which encompasses the meanings of all these phrases, is inclusive innovation or inclusive growth, inclusive development. If you talk to the people within the companies, within the government, they are all now talking about inclusive growth and inclusive innovation and so on. So I will talk, because inclusive innovation has a strong relationship with the social entrepreneurship. So I will explain this in the next slide. But why do we need to worry about social entrepreneurship? Why do we need to worry about inclusive innovation? And this is a very important, I think, as a student, all of us should understand why we need to be thinking about all these things. And it is because that there are 1.4 billion people in the world whose income is less than $1.25 per day. There are 2.6 billion people in the world whose income is less than $2 a day. And in India, there is a 90% of the population today, which is 700 plus million people today, whose income is $2 a day. And when we talk about $2 a day, which is now, of course, it's 120 rupees or 130 rupees, when I always look at this 100 rupees or 130 rupees, which is the cost of a coffee, which is the cost of a coffee in Cafe Day, or say in Starbucks today in India, or it is a pack of a chocolate that we usually give as a gift to our, the rich and poor can be 1:100 to 1,000. So somebody must be, this lady must be earning 1,000 times than the farmer. So whenever I think we are driving or when we are walking, or all of us, we experience this economic inequality everywhere in India. We see extreme richness and then extreme poverty, and then of course there are in between middle class people. So now when we have income inequality, so one of the ways we can do is we reduce this income inequality. But to reduce the income inequality with a population of 1.2 billion, or say between 2.6 billion people and 6 billion people, it's a humongous task. It's a huge task. If I have to take these 90% of the people in India to make them middle class or higher middle class, it is not a very easy proposition for all of us. It requires a lot of time and effort to bring them from bottom of pyramid. But when we have economic inequality, but our innovation, our solution, our products can bring access equality. This is very important. These are the new concepts which are coming out based on my experience. What does this mean? Having access equality in spite of economic inequality. This is a very important thing, because look at all, whether there is a rich, old, farmer, fisherman, again rich woman, access to the voice telephony doesn't distinguish between economic inequality of the people. So what does this mean is that, it's very, I mean, I can talk in depth, but since time is less, so I will go quickly. What does this mean to us? What does this mean is that the solutions, the products or innovative solutions and products are the greatest equalizers today. I used to think that death is the greatest equalizer because death doesn't distinguish anything, but it equalizes. But what next after the death? Because I'm from science technology, I think technology can bring that, it can bring that equality for us. I think it can be a great equalizer. And that's the power of innovation. That's the power of solution and products that you need to develop. So what does this mean? When we say that technology is the greatest equalizer, this means that we are including those who are excluded. Who were excluded or who are excluded, we can bring them and include in the mainstream. I think that's the power of social entrepreneurship and inclusive innovation. So I attend this development dialogue every year. For me, it's a pilgrimage. Those who are into social entrepreneurship, I request you that you should attend this development dialogue. This is organized by Gururaj Deshpande in Hubli, and he brings people from all across the society, from different worlds, from NGOs, farmers, academicians, industrialists, and everyone on one platform, and we just discuss about development, social development, and so on. And this model is being replicated across the world. It is a HBR case study now, how one can really develop a particular region. So as a part of, he has a center which is called Deshpande Center for Social Entrepreneurship. So I said, let me just share you a couple of examples of the entrepreneurs that I met. So in 2013, when I was attending this development dialogue, I was chairing a session which is for technology. The session was on technology for growth. And who were the panelists among this particular session is Anup, Neil, and Sorin. I thought, let me quickly go through what they have been doing. Anup was in MIT. He did his studies at Johns Hopkins, and then he was working for USAID, US Defense, and so on. He's a logistic expert. Now, his logistics and supply chain experience, he said how he can use it to solve the problems of rural shops or rural enterprises. So there are, in rural part, we see the sabjiwalas and grocery shops and so on, but they don't have the ready access to the supply chain or to the inventory management and so on. But what they have, now you see, having the mobile phone, that is something which everyone has. Today there are close to 900 million people in India has the access to the mobile phone, and we're just touching now 1 billion people. Then he said, I have a mobile phone technology which exists with everyone. How can I build a solution that can help the rural entrepreneur to manage the inventory, supply chain, and so on? You can go to his website to get more details. Neil did his PhD in Stanford. When he was doing a PhD in Stanford, he said that, again, in India, we have a mobile phone, but out of 900, maybe half of them, they are illiterate. They don't know the language, the communication. So he said, but still, I want to empower them and develop a solution where the illiterates can communicate and do it. So what he did, he developed a simple app which will help the rural people to have a broadcasting capability. So you have a voice and you can just press, record it and send it across if there is a new agricultural related news or if there is a vaccination. So all this, and these are all being implemented. It's already implemented in several parts of the world. And again, he's working from Bangalore. And Neil is also working from Bangalore. Sorin, again, I think all of us, all MIT folks, they know Sorin and Sam. Sorin, again, he was born in Romania, worked in MIT. After he did his master's in MIT, he went to Australia he was working for National Semiconductors, came back, along with Sam in MIT, he started a company called Promethean, now which is based in Mumbai. What they do, they developed a simple solution for how can we create low-cost, affordable refrigerator which can work without power and so on. So they developed a technology which can preserve milk, because we have a lot of India is one of the biggest producer of the milk. But milk get wasted because there's a bacterial contamination and so on. So he said at the collection point, if you have the refrigerators, very economical, affordable refrigerators, then we can preserve the milk and take it to the bigger. And Promethean started with this refrigerator with, say, solar panel, but they realized that is not going to work. Now they developed a refrigerator based on thermoelectric cooling. And one of the challenges today India has is that each year India wastes agricultural produce, which is worth $10 billion. If we can develop a solution for preserving our food produce, which is fruits and agricultural produce, I think we can save substantial this thing. So what does this mean to us? All this, Anup, Neil and Suryan, they left good corporate jobs. All of them, they had a corporate job in US. I mean, Neil was working in an investment bank in Los Angeles, and Suryan was working in National Instruments and so on. All of them, they left their job and developed the solutions, innovative solution, became a social entrepreneur to solve some of the local and social problems that India exists. I'm not explaining too much, but just I want to give a glimpse of this in 20 minutes. So how do we understand this inclusive innovation? How do we understand the social entrepreneurship? So I asked this question to Deshpande, Gururaj Deshpande. I said, you have a Deshpande Center for Social Entrepreneurship. How do you define social entrepreneurship? Because you have a center, you should be able to tell me how can, and he gave this elegant equation about social entrepreneurship. What he said is that traditionally, we follow this particular path. Of course, this may not be the perfect and absolute definition of the social entrepreneurship, but it will give you an indication what does social entrepreneurship means. What he says that any innovation has to have an impact. Any technology has to have an impact if it is brought as a solution, as an invention. Then he said, how do you begin to create that impact? If you start first developing an innovation and then bring its relevance. Say, for example, I develop some new optics phenomena. Now, how can I use this optic phenomena for the eye care? That's the one way to look at it. And there are many people in India, or maybe perhaps not in MIT. I was asking how much percentage of professors in MIT work on these different models. He says that there are 5 to 10% people might be working on this part, but generally, MIT professors are aware of the problems that exist. So what he said, as a social entrepreneur, you should start with the relevance first, not the technology, not your so-called invention and idea. So we take the relevance first, have this innovation, and create an impact. I think that can be a greatest way you can explain the social entrepreneurship. I can get into deeper, but I'm not going. But I thought, let me explain this. What does this mean when we talk about innovation? It can be technology, it can be many other things. So Godrej, all of us, is a consumer company. They make a refrigerator. So now, one of the things we were discussing about 2.6 billion people whose income is less, they need to develop the products which are affordable, which are low cost. One way to go about is that they have a refrigerator already, they have been selling in the market. Now, what they can do is to reduce the cost. The basic things will remain. They will say, how can I make it use the less material and so on, and then produce a stripped version or having a less feature version of the refrigerator and go to the market. But Godrej did not do that. Or say, for example, Tata Nano was not produced from Indica or existing cars. What did they do? They first said that if I have to produce a product and solution for the rural market or excluded population, I need to understand their need, what is the relevance to this particular product. And they discovered, interestingly, that in rural parts of India, they have a small place, they do not have a fixed, or they cannot afford to have a place to put a fixed refrigerator. There is no power, hardly there is a power. Then they said that they have to develop a new refrigerator, not based on this refrigerator technology, but entirely different. So what they did, they developed this affordable refrigerator, which is portable, which works on a battery without electricity. And they said that they don't need really deep freezer, because for them they want to use it for day-to-day use. So they said, we don't need a compressor. There are so many things. They said they got rid of compressor, which costs a lot, is heavy, occupies the space. They used again thermoelectric cooling technology and developed. And throughout the development of this technology, all the people from the rural parts of India, they were part of, right from the conception of the idea to the design of the idea. It's a great way to look at how we can bring the relevance to start with and then develop a product. So what is the framework we can come out, or what kind of a model that is emerging from Indian innovation or inclusive innovation or social entrepreneurs, what they can teach us, like Mr. Shirode. So engineering, what is the engineering challenge? Generally, the engineering challenge, if I ask many engineering students, they don't tell, but it is always getting more from less, whatever we do. So what does this mean? If we have an iPhone, and today, the iPhone basically it's a one device with 20 different devices in one particular device. So I'm getting more devices in one device. But of course, it costs $700 or $500. So in terms of the space and power, a decade or 2 decades back, this is what the PC looked like, or computer looked like. When I started my PhD, we had this whole room which occupied one computer. And today, we have desktop, we have palm top, laptop, and all kinds of devices. But again, it's more from less. Who can do this? Engineering, scientists, technologists can create this more from less or get more from less. But remember, what is the problem? Problem is that can this excluded population have an access to this technology or this device at the cost that is being offered? So the question to be asked is, can I have these products at say $50 or $60 or $100 and so on? And again, I say this because we know that there are 2.6 billion people with income less than $2. Now, look at the kind of Indian innovations that are coming out from India, where the cost of the product, not the quality. Quality is the same, performance is the same, everything is maybe sometimes better than the existing global solutions. So some of the products or services that have been created by these social entrepreneurs is 1/100th the cost that is exists today in the market, in the world. And there are some innovation which is basically 1/10 less cost, half cost, and low cost, and so on. Arvind Eye Care is a great story. The kind of services they do is better than what has been found in the UK or US. But I will not get into this thing, but you can always read this. And this particular report was produced by UK Foundation Nesta. They wanted to study Indian innovations that are happening and what UK can learn or Europe can learn from the Indian innovation. This is a very interesting report you should look at. So, and also it's not about the reducing the cost. How much money I'm investing or getting that particular solution. In fact, some of the innovation has to produce these innovations, the amount of investment has been made is substantially less compared to the world standard. So how do I define the social entrepreneurship or social innovation or inclusive innovation? And in a simplest form, Professor C.K. Prahlad and Dr. Mashelkar wrote a Harvard Business Review paper, which is one of the best papers in innovation today. What they said is that we need to move from a paradigm that is getting more from less to a paradigm getting more from less for more and more. What does this mean? So whenever you are producing a solution or a product, so you need to remember this MLM mantra. What it says, that you design and develop products and services with more performance, with less material, less cost, less time, less environmental pollution, and not for the few privileged, but for the for more and more people on the planet. So can you develop a product or a solution which can make a difference to the community at the bottom of the pyramid? If you remember this, it is not about getting more from less, but get more from less for more and more people. I think that can really help you to develop these inclusive innovation. So one of the things that we need to change the paradigm is that the inclusive innovation that breaks that barrier is performance and costs are linear. If you look at most of the products that are developed, high performance means high cost. That's what we work on. So more and more features, more and more cost. So we need to break that barrier, and Indian innovations have broken that barrier, that it need not be the relationship between performance and cost need not be linear. What they say is that this is the current paradigm, and all the Indian innovations have moved to a next and another paradigm, which is called affordable and excellence, which means that cost is low and performance is very high. So, many times we believe that technology is the key to solve the problem. It is not. Technology is one of the components to succeed. All the Indian innovations, they are not just purely based on technology. It is technology plus business model. So you can use the existing technology, integrate the existing technology, but you can have innovation in business model. But many times we think that technology will give this. No, it has to be technology plus this thing. So what does this mean is that when I was talking to Professor C.K. Prahlad, why the social entrepreneurs create these things, they say that when we talk about aspiration and resources, if we have more resources and less aspiration, we are not going to create such innovation. They say that you need to have more aspiration and less resources. If you are constrained, but you are aspired, like Mr. Shirode, that you have to create something. Your aspiration is very high, resources are less, and that's what will create the innovation. So, this is my way, the way I look at the future, or future of innovation, for all of us. So we have an opportunity to create this new era of affordable excellence or inclusive innovation for the growth. And what are this era mean to me is that E stands for excellence, highest quality, no compromise in terms of the quality, bring the relevance and make it affordable, and that will lead the inclusion or the excluded and make a difference to the society and world at large. Thank you very much.
Best equalizer, right? So as all of you are working on getting some prototype done, so I request all of you just inculcate these thoughts in your what we can say that a prototype, because this will actually make you
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? So before going to 3D printing, I'll just tell you something about what printing is. So this is printing. You all know what printing is. There was like the present day in every office, in every school, in every every place you go, there will be 2D printers which are already present. What are 2D printers? The name itself says 2D. That means it prints on two directions. The printing material, and the print head moves in X and Y direction depending upon what you need to print on the paper. So this was the basis of how the printing technology was started. Two types, where you start depositing the material and get out the 3D model out of it, and there is something where you will remove unwanted material and get a 3D model out of it. That's how laser cutters was started, where you will have a bulk material out of which if you want a shape out of it, you will just mention that shape and discard the remaining things. That's how you started getting the 3D models from laser cutters. But there was a problem. You used to lose a lot of material in there. So 3D printer technology actually came into existence, where you will print in three dimensions, that is X, Y and Z. So this is a Up Mini 3D printer which was brought from United States. This belongs to MIT Media Lab. So what a 3D printer actually does is, how many of you are from mechanical or civil department here? So you guys might have heard about CAD modeling, right? So there is a format called as STL. So why specifically STL is? STL is nothing but a stack of images. Generally, if you go for any medical imaging, like you might have heard about MRI, and then you might have heard about CT scan, and all this happens in stack of images. That means you will be taken images it's called as subsurface imaging, where you will take the images of different layers and then you put them together in order to form a single 3D model. That's .stl format. So you will extract whatever the CAD model you do in .stl format. .stl format will just contain information about the vertices and the facets. These are the two things which are used to define a .stl file or a 3D model. So these vertices and facets, this thing is what you will be extracting into the software of 3D printer for this. And what this software actually does is convert this vertices and facets into something called as machine understandable G code. There was something called as M code earlier, which was used in laser cutters and all. This is called G code, where G code consists of 4 coordinates. One is X, Y, Z direction, and the fourth one will be the speed of operation of the 3D printer. So these are the 4 vertices of G code. So X, Y, Z and speed. And these 4 coordinates are, it keeps on changing at every moment, like, because there are a lot of, it should move continuously from, place to place. So every instant this G code keeps on changing, and the print head starts moving in whatever the G code, the location it starts going, and it starts printing in the, depending upon the speed which is being mentioned in the G code, which is being, interpreted in the G code. So what happens is, if I'll just take an example. If I want to print a cube, what happens is, so first it will be broken down into different layers, layer one by one layer. That is XY direction layer, one layer, and there will be many such layers, one on the top of the other. That will form the whole cube. So what happens is, you are printed normally, like I can just show you here, line by line, like this. So once this one layer is completed, there is another stepper mode in order to control the height, I mean the Z direction. So that goes one step above. So it starts printing on that layer. So depending upon the different layers, it keeps on printing layer by layer. This is the basic core technology of 3D printing. Print it layer by layer. That's all 3D printing means. So once this is done, you can get a model of your desired shape. 3D printer, ranges in different, dimensions these days. Like this 3D printer here costs around $999 US. This is because its speed is high and its resolution is very high. I mean, you can get the print to a smallest resolution possible. Like if you want a slit in a small, if you want a small slit here, or I want a small hole there, or you want to design a gear where your precision is very, very, very important. So in all these cases, 3D printing is very important with the resolution. So if you go down in resolution and you are ready to sacrifice your speed, you can get 3D printers for lesser cost as well. In India, Indian made 3D printers are already available, where it is available for $350 US or less than that. So all this range of 3D printing today, the present day technology is converging very fastly. So what you can see is, you can see 3D printers in every office right now, like just like a 2D printer, because the whole idea of 3D printing was this: rapid prototyping. I think Teppa would have talked a lot about rapid prototyping yesterday, wherein you actually, your imagination, the brain is an awesome structure where you imagine different things. So once you imagine something, you want to see it live. I mean, you just don't want it to be, imagination in your brain and die away like that. You want to see it on, on your table. So that's how rapid prototyping was a concept, where, whatever you imagine, you will create it and you will print it out. That's how 3D printing is changing the world today. There are a lot of disadvantages as well. I don't want to talk about the 3D printing disadvantages. Many people would be knowing that. So, people use it to even print guns. This was happened recently somewhere in United States. But there are a lot of disadvantages as well. But there are printers which can print metal. You can print jewelry using 3D printers. You can print anything, just anything you can print with your 3D printer. So this is one of the greatest innovations, and I think it was invented. It came into vast existence after 2010. So I would just like to print a small structure for you guys. I think it's very difficult for you guys to see.
Vijay is printing KUMBHTHON logo for all of us.
So this is what I'm printing now. It's KUMBHTHON logo. So this is the CAD model that I've put into the software for 3D printing. You can use any modeling software like AutoCAD or you can use SolidWorks, anything. Just you need to have a plugin in order to convert it into .stl. Yeah. In order to explain the parts of the 3D printer, this is deposited layer by layer, and this is the print head. The print head will contain a hot end which will heat the material. Here I am using the material I am using here is ABS plastic. The advantage of ABS plastic over PLA plastic is that there are two materials it can print, that is ABS and PLA plastic. These are the two different kinds of plastic, wherein the advantage of ABS plastic is that as soon as you deposit layer by layer, the main importance is that it should get solidified as soon as you put it on that, because when you are depositing the next layer, it shouldn't be a problem for the previous layer. So ABS dries off, it can easily get adhered to the material, that is the material of the print bed. It can easily get adhered to it, so it won't come out of it easily. So now the printing started.
Other than plastic, what other material can you use?
Yeah, as I told you earlier, depends upon the printer. There is, as for Uday mentioned yesterday to me, there is a printer in Pune which can print metals as well. There are sizes of material. The sizes of material printer varies. Like the maximum, as far as I have seen, is 10 meter by 10 meter, like 10 feet by 10 feet printer.
So you can actually start manufacturing.
The technology is different.
Yeah.
So then you're going more SLS printing. SLS printing is
Yeah.
10 minutes. It will take 10 minutes.
It will take 10 minutes.
Alright guys, I'll just entertain you a little bit more about 3D printing. So we do a lot of stuff for iNet with Ramesh's company with 3D printing. All our prototypes are made using 3D printing. So why is this? Now they're also printing, recently they started printing food and stuff. There was one guy who printed proteins, and proteins you can eat, so he printed something out and he ate it. So you can do all these cool things with it, but at the end of the day, it's actually inspired all by manufacturing. So once you know manufacturing, you can use these softwares and you can create all these awesome things and start printing them out. But this is only good for printing something like one piece or two pieces. It doesn't work out when you're trying to print in a larger scale. It's a very expensive technology, but it's getting cheaper by the day. It's fun to use, fun to play with. Fun to, when you're prototyping and stuff, and you get stuck at like one piece, let's say you're missing a gear or something. So printing out that little gear to fit it in to keep working on, it's a nice prototyping tool. But, so things like that, it's an amazing tool for that. So to keep going, keep making things. Quite interesting. Goods coming out, like everywhere else. Like with any other technology, like a lathe. First time you made a lathe, you gave it to somebody, they started making pens and stuff. It was used for industry, but when it became cheaper and everyone afforded it, things like pens started coming out, beautiful creations, small little things started coming out. So pots started coming out. So with 3D printing as well, once I see it out there, I see a lot of these little artsy things, a lot of art coming out. Apart from that, like a lot of open source stuff, like Fiddle and everything, which are Fiddle is a small puzzle for blind people to read using Braille and solve the puzzle to kind of get the shape of the object, to understand what the object feels like, but at the same time know what it means. So stuff like that, that's an open source platform. They've made these things some time back, made amputated hands for handicapped people. So using a 3D printer, and he open sourced that again. So you can just download the parts online and print it using this. So direct STLs, print it out, use them. Something like that would be very beneficial for different parts of India where you can't really have access to something like that, and just help somebody need it. That's pretty good. So good stuff that you can do with it. But you can't just limit yourself to FDM and printing on all these things. If you want to be creative, there's some people who are printing in sugar for cakes and stuff. So you can print using sugar and make like a nice object, put it on top of a cake, make it look beautiful. Or print with chocolate and make like a face or something and give it to somebody as a gift. Eat it. So that's what I said. There's artsy stuff also comes along.
Recently,
It'll take another 5 minutes. So.
Desperately waiting from last 2 days, and he's here. Guess who is? Yes, so great. So
Loudly, who is that? Yes.
it's Peter Bell. He's having his organization. He has developed a software organization, Indica, and recently he sold in $1.4 billion. So the